All right, what's up everybody? So we're back out here at the Arborgasm project. This is my first time back here since we did our last wave of planting that was about 3,000 trees. I think a lot of you guys have seen that video. And so yeah, we're here to check on the trees and see how they're doing. We have had Sam and Ryan out here doing maintenance visits, but this is my first time back. So you guys get to discover what's going on out here with me.
This video is made possible by our patrons. Their support allows us to continue to share our educational resources, knowledge, and make these videos for you to enjoy. We have just launched our new tier of support. To get access to additional content from our projects, Q&A priority, and more, click the link below. There's an additional 10-minute video on Patreon now where Ryan and Sam the Fun Guy talk about their challenges, obstacles, experiences, and learnings from this project. Thank you for your support.
These rows that we're in right now are the rows that had some olives that survived. We suspect that that is because they're right here on this tree line, and so that gave them some shelter against the cold weather that killed most of the other 70 acres of olives that were planted here. So we went ahead and we interplanted in these rows, so these are a little bit different than some of the rows where we used the big tree planter. And so far I'm noticing that we definitely lost some trees. You know, no surprise there, we expected to lose some. I know we've been having some challenges with the irrigation tubing expanding and contracting and kind of walking its way along the line and moving itself in some cases. And so yeah, I can tell that we've had some cover crops seeded here by Jason, the client, and those are coming up really nice. We just got some good rain, so let's explore. Let's see what else is going on. All right, so this is a really healthy tree that we planted in the fall of 2024. So it's been about 6 months now since we planted this guy. This is an elm tree, and you can see it's looking great here. It gets some shade, so that I'm sure is helpful. And this is what we want to see right here at the 6-month mark. This tree was pretty tall when we planted it, but it also had a really strong root system on it. We got these trees, this particular sapling from Redwood in Texas, which is a really great wholesale grower and supplier. So if all the trees look like this, I would be happy, but I can see already that they don't. So we'll talk about some of the ones that didn't do as well as this elm here. All right, so this is one of our mulberry saplings that we planted, and I'm actually really happy to see how it's growing. It hasn't gotten very much bigger than when we planted it, but that's okay. In the first year or two, the name of the game is really just to get the trees to survive and to get their roots to grow in and establish. And really you don't want the top of the tree to grow too quickly because if it's putting on more vegetative growth and less root growth, you can get an imbalance. And when it gets dry in the summertime, the tree can just die from that imbalance. So these mulberry trees tend to grow really fast once they're rooted. And so I actually suspect that this tree, once it has had some time to settle in and get established, is just gonna start to go up and out really fast, and that it's actually gonna provide some shade and shelter to the trees around it, which is, we planted these in the system strategically to be shelter trees and also trees that we can prune and then use that material that we prune to help create mulch and transition this from more of a pasture, grassland, wildflower meadow into more of a forest. So this is a sycamore tree. I believe it's a Mexican sycamore, and we planted this one from a bigger size. So a lot of the trees that we planted were only 12 inches tall or less, but they had a really strong root system on them. This was a 5-gallon tree that we planted here, and that was done strategically because these are some of the fastest growing trees, and we wanted to make sure that they were in the system again to grow up and create that shelter for the other trees so that we can help trees that need more shelter and more shade to get established. And we also couldn't get these in the sapling size at the time of the planting, but we didn't want to skip them. So this tree looks great, and I really expect this guy to grow 5 or even 6 feet per year in height, and then to start to spread out really quickly as well. So I'm here with a loblolly pine that we planted, and I'm really happy with how this one is looking. We wanted to mix in evergreen trees, and this site is kind of right on that line where you start to see more of the pine trees in East Texas, and they start to recede as you move further west. And so this is really nice because it's not really susceptible to grasshopper damage. It's gonna help to balance the soil pH. And of course, it's gonna be just nice to, when you look down the rows, to have some evergreen trees in there. So in wintertime, there's still gonna be some cover and some green, and while everything else is dormant. So this is a dawn redwood tree. I'm really excited to be planting these here, and I'm really excited to see that it's doing well. First of all, how cool would it be to have some redwoods back in Central Texas? I recently heard from someone that these used to grow here natively in Texas, and then one of the sort of cyclical cataclysms wiped them out. And so these are an endangered species. They're only growing in China in a very small area, and that area is threatened by industrial development. So I think getting these genetics and planting them and trying to get them established in other places in the world is a really neat experiment, and I'm excited to see what happens here. So this is one of the trees that did not survive. I was coming to see if it was growing back from the roots. So far I don't see anything emerging from the root zone. You can see it was a little sapling. This probably only cost us about $1 and not very much labor to plant. But we've got the spot marked because we've got irrigation emitters here, so we will replant something else, and I'll have to look back at the pattern and figure out what it was. But I think from looking at the tree, this might have been a walnut or a pecan, which are a little harder to establish. I just scraped back the skin here on it, the bark, because I wanted to see if there was any green in the cambium. That's a good way to check. If it doesn't just break off when you give it a little wiggle and you're trying to find out if the tree is still alive, you scrape the bark back, maybe a smaller section than that, and you look for green right there on the cambium layer. All right, so this is a big tooth maple plant, and really these grow more west in Texas. They grow in the Los Maples area out by the Frio River. But we wanted to see if we could get some established here further east of their range. And you would think, well, the soil's better here, it's less rocky, it's less limestoney, so they should do fine. We'll see if that's true or not. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes the plant is so adapted to harsh kind of deprivation conditions that they actually don't like to grow in better soil, sandier, more loamy soil. So this is definitely an experiment, but so far this tree is looking great. I love the beautiful color on the leaves, the shape of the leaves, the red on the stems. It's just such a gorgeous tree. All right, so we didn't just plant trees, we also planted some shrubs. This is a southern wax myrtle here. These grow really well in East Texas. They grow all the way up to Austin. I've seen some people grow them out in the hill country, but I don't think that they really do that well out there. But this is an evergreen shrub, and it's called a wax myrtle because people can actually make candles out of it. So that's its traditional use, and it also has a really nice smell to it as well if you just rub the leaves. And oh, it's such a beautiful smell. So this is a really cool plant, and we're gonna be creating this multi-layered system here. So we're gonna have tall trees, medium-sized trees, we're gonna have the shrubs, we're planting in the herbaceous layer as well. And so this whole system is just gonna be stacked with biodiversity. And then when you start to run the animals through it, it's gonna produce a ton of really healthy, high quality meat as well. And those animals are gonna live really good lives. So these magnolia trees that we planted here are kind of a treat to have. They really grow more in the southeast where it's more humid and swampy, but they will grow in Texas. And so I'm excited to have these here. Their flowers, these are kind of a prehistoric tree. They haven't evolved or changed very much. Their flowers actually date back to pollinating by beetle. And so that was before there were a bunch of native bees and honeybees to pollinate things. So the beetles used to do that work. And I mean, these trees just kind of look prehistoric, and I have fond memories of playing them when I was a kid. So really neat tree to have here, and I think it's gonna produce a lot of biomass that we can also cycle back into the system to help build the soil for the other trees. So this is the pond out here at Arborgasm, which was built by the previous owner, and they did a good job positioning this pond, did a good job building the dam wall. The soil wasn't ideal for sealing the pond, so it does infiltrate up to a point, and it's not perfectly sealed, but it's so good to see it this full. It's right up to the brim. It's just about to start overflowing. I'm standing in the spillway right now, and there's actually a trickle of water coming out on the lowest spot. And this is what you want to see from your ponds going into summertime. This was really low because we are still in a drought. Even though we're getting some rain, we're behind on our annual average of rainfall. And so it's awesome to see this charged up and soaking into the ground and helping to charge up the local water table and the aquifer, and of course also supporting the fish life and the riparian trees that are starting to grow around it. We've got willows just popping up, the fisher birds, the amphibians, all of that stuff. This is a hub for biodiversity and life out here, and that biodiversity and life then helps to support all of the systems that we're establishing as well. So this pond used to be a source of irrigation when this was a big olive orchard, but they were finding actually that they were having trouble with it clogging up the irrigation system, because this is all on drip irrigation, which I think is pretty rare to have such a large project that's all on drip irrigation. So they had a lot of sediment filters, but then they had to clean those filters often, and it just became sort of a too much difficulty for what it was worth. And the pond level drops pretty quickly because it's not perfectly sealed. So this pond now is not in use for irrigation, but it is possible to drop a submersible pump in there and use it to irrigate. And one of the benefits of that is, because there's life in the pond, there's microbes and there's fish poop, and there's, you know, if ducks come, they're pooping in the pond. So it's biologically active and it's nutrients. And so that can become fertigation. As long as you can keep the particle sizes small enough, then every time that you irrigate from a pond, you're actually fertigating. And so there's multiple benefits there. So we're back in the dense food forest section of the Arborgasm project, and I'm just gonna walk through and show you guys some of the trees that we have here that are doing great. This is the Asian pear tree. Chojuro is the variety. I'm really happy with how this is growing. I can feel that it's really getting strongly rooted in the ground, and I think it's gonna have a good chance of weathering the summer. Then as a support species, we have the Texas sage or cenizo right here. These look like they're doing really well. Those are very drought tolerant. We also have some kidney wood down in here. I see that it's doing okay, but it's definitely like competing with the grasses. And then we have the cenizo here. We have one tree that didn't fare so well. This was a loquat tree. Those were, you know, an experiment. They are cold sensitive, but we're further southeast here in Howittsville, and these do survive up in Austin and other places where it gets colder. So that's interesting. We'll have to see if any of the other ones survived. Right here we have a Morris plum. These plum trees are looking great. Japanese persimmon. This thing is doing well. And then of course, a mulberry tree. This is just a native mulberry. It's not grafted or anything like that, but I expect that these will grow the fastest and kind of do the best here. And that pattern repeats, mixing in with some peach trees and some different kinds of pears. So this is not an Asian pear, it's a Southern Bartlett pear. And over time, we'll prune these and we'll open them up and make them more of like a goblet shape here. But overall, I'm really happy with how this is looking. And now that the cover crop is growing up and the grasses are starting to grow up with this rain, we'll keep coming through here and mowing, and the mower will throw that material onto the row. So we're creating this sort of syntropic agriculture effect by mowing and throwing the organic matter as mulch onto the row to help build that soil along these planting lines. So overall, this section is doing really well. I think our biggest challenge is going to be that actually the herbaceous layer is going to grow up and it's going to compete a little bit with the woody layer. And especially the plants that bridge that gap that are more shrubby, that are lower growing in the system, like this thornless blackberry here. These grasses are just growing so fast, and we can mow on either side of the rows and between the rows, which you can see we've done that, but right along the row, we can't mow. And so there's gonna be this little zone right around the plants where this is just gonna get really tall. And so hopefully that just provides shade and shelter, and that's not a big problem, and these plants can just grow through it. And so that's part of the experiment here. Another thing that I know is going to be a challenge is the grasshoppers in the summertime. Whenever it gets really hot and dry, the grasshoppers just kind of go crazy and start eating all the trees usually. So what we've found to be the best thing to combat that is kaolin clay, and we'll spray that on all of the foliage of the plants when the grasshoppers really start to chew on them. And that actually gums up the mandibles of those insects and other insects that also eat the plants, and it prevents them from doing that, and so then they seek other food sources. So in between these rows of the food forest, we've got this cover crop seeded, and it's triticale and it's rye. So the triticale has these more wheat-like, which is a hybrid of wheat, and then there is also some just pure wheat in here, and then we've got some rye. And these grow up even faster than the other grasses that are here that are just in the native seed bank, and they produce more biomass. Obviously they produce a lot of seed, and then that's helping to build the soil, and we will throw that over with the mower towards the trees, and then the summer crop of cover crop seeds will get seeded, and those will be even faster growing, taller growing plants. And so this is one of the ways that we're helping to jumpstart the soil biology here. And then once the soil biology is really going, then we'll be able to introduce animals and rotate them through these rows, which we created wide enough to make that easy to run cattle and then follow them with chickens. And once that starts to happen, then this system is really going to start to just pump out and cycle nutrients really quickly. So each alternating row is a little bit different in the food forest, and the two central rows, we've got pecan trees because those grow up and they spread really wide, so those are going to be like the bones of the system. And in these rows, we've also mixed in for support trees, these native redbuds. We've got elderberry shrubs planted right underneath the base of these pecans. And then we also have some false indigo, which is a fast-growing native tree that we can prune and use to help create woody mulch on the ground. And then of course we've got other fruit trees spaced in here, like crab apples. And man, everything is just looking so good right now. I'm really starting to see how this is going to grow in. And of course the big test is going to be the summer.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video. My name is Dylan. I'm the one who shoots and edits all of these videos that you watch. Just wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be doing monthly Q&As now. So be sure to leave your questions and comments down below. We'll do our best to answer as many as we can. It can be about anything. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, you get priority. So depending on which tier you're in, the more priority you get. So yeah, leave your questions, comments below, and we'll do our best to answer as many as we can. Enjoy the rest of the video.
The different soil types, as we were using the tree planting machine, you know, down there we've got heavy clay. Over here we've got a mixture of clay and sand. Over here it's mostly more sandy and loamy. And
right.
So I think that's interesting that you're learning that when you do the no-till seed drill, you have to adjust the depth based on the soil type, and that even here within one property you've got, what, like 4 or 5 different zones of soil.
Right.
But yeah, that's tough when the top layer dries out like that. And
plus down here it doesn't dry out as fast. When you see all this stuff it stays wet a whole lot longer, and my cover crops have done much better down here.
This section looks beautiful.
Yes,
I mean, when we were out here planting in the fall, after that dry end of summer in the fall, I mean, it was just dusty. There was dust flying everywhere and it was dry. I mean, we've got video and photos of that, and now it just looks so lush. It is beautiful.
And what does that look give you? An arborgasm?
I may be approaching an arborgasm. I may be. Is there also a grassgasm? Because I mean, this green grass is beautiful. I love it. It's like the freaking hills of Ireland out here.
It is lush right now.
Yeah, and how much of this lush growth that we've got going on right now is from just natural rainfall, and how much of that is from keyline plow and drip irrigation?
Don't know.
Yeah.
You have to ask it. I don't know.
Have you been running the keyline?
We have not run the K-line out here, or which was the K-line, the irrigation?
Yeah,
K-line, not the keyline. Yeah, the K-line, no, we have not been running the K-line down here.
Okay.
We've been just watering like crazy with the drip.
Got it.
And we've had, several like bust apart and flooded area. I mean, there's some really soggy areas in there where the water line breaks, so you have to constantly watch the water lines, or they run over them, or they pop open, or whatever. So it's but it doesn't hurt it. Too much water doesn't hurt anything.
People have asked me if I regretted, reusing all of the old material, and I've said absolutely not, even though it was kind of a pain, just how much plastic we would have had to throw away and how much we would have had to buy to do it all brand new. And I don't think it would have improved our result that much. But
yeah. And I think if we use it again, that I would even put more drippers in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have plenty of pressure. So it drips in between them too.
Mm-hmm.
So this one plugs up, I got backup over here.
Yeah.
Something that's drawing some water too. So I would, and it might even go that. Once they get bigger and their roots are going out, we might add some drippers to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have plenty of pressure.
Yeah, and I think one thing that it's a little counterintuitive for me, or a little different than a lot of the projects I work on, where we're west of 35 and we're on a more sensitive aquifer. We're being really, judicious with our irrigation and our water use. But out here in this particular aquifer, you guys have plenty of water. You have a huge pump that's designed to irrigate the whole 70 acres. So we're taking a different approach. But even stuff that's not watering the trees, if the dripper gets a little bit off or whatever, we're growing the grass, we're growing the soil, we're growing the microbes. So we're just adding water to the system to help jumpstart everything.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I don't have a problem with irrigation, because I know that when it rains, I'm soaking up all the water. So I'm putting in more than I'm taking out.
Yeah.
If we get the rain.
Right.
But just with this tall, lush grass, and we put the cattle on here soon, then they'll even make it even infiltration rate even better with it, even more organic matter in the soil. Yeah. Mulberry and elderberry that I just cut from cuttings from my trees at the ranch, and just came and poked them in there when it was wet soil, and I've got probably 80% survival.
That's great.
I think mulberries I probably have 100% survival.
Yeah, they're such a tough tree, man. I love mulberries.
And I already got little berries on it. Well, they already fell off now, but I had berries on them.
This is such a cool thing because you're already starting to do the propagation strategy that we had talked about. So you've got these plants that are doing well on your ranch 30 minutes from here. You're just doing cuttings, you're propagating those genetics here. And then same thing with all these 3,000 trees that we planted, 4,000 trees that we planted. We start taking cuttings and sticking those in new sections. And I think our success rate is just going to continue to go up as we learn from all the mistakes we've made so far.
Right.
But on these lines, clearly the sycamores are doing the best as far as surviving and how fast they're growing. Is there anything else that stands out to you as like a real winner in this privacy screen planting section that we planted first?
Is this board art?
Yep.
That one's been very successful. There's a one that's a little, I don't know what it is, but it's a little thorny bush. I have to cut around it to find it. Let me see if we can find one.
Oh, yeah. I do see some mulberries here.
Yep.
Not to distract too much. Oh, there's a pecan that's alive. That's exciting.
Yeah, some of them is coming back that we thought was dead, but where are those little boogers?
I'm starting to see some trees sprouting that I don't even think we planted. I think they're just starting to volunteer up from seed.
Yes.
There's some
like here we
elms.
got what is this?
That's another bow dart, I think.
Or no, this is the volunteer.
Yeah, that's an elm that's just popping up on its own, it looks like.
Yep, there's several of those that have popped up.
That's great. Those grow fast too.
And so what is this?
I think that's another bow dart. Yeah, it's got those thorns on it. Yeah, we planted a lot of bow darts in this row for sure. But then we've got some loblolly I see over here that are surviving, and some eastern red cedar over there.
There. Are those two different right there?
Yeah, there's loblolly on the left and then eastern red cedar on the right.
Okay.
And it seems to me that, a lot of these, we definitely had some die off on these, and they're growing more slowly. I don't know if that was more to competition, because the good thing about the conifer trees is they're not really susceptible to grasshoppers, which I think is a lot of what we lost trees to over the summer, or at least thought we lost trees to. But it seems like the oaks and the pecans have struggled to establish the most, but a lot of them are coming back now.
Pecans are very slow, though.
Yeah.
I haven't had any pecans I planted that was very fast growing. There's one right there.
I think that's kind of a general rule of thumb, is like the longer a tree can live, the slower it tends to grow. Like a hackberry only lives for 50 to 100 years, but it gets so big so fast.
Unless you're in the sycamore.
Yeah, maybe sycamore is the exception.
There you go, here's oak tree. Probably got cut off at the very beginning and now it's coming back.
Yeah.
I don't think we planted anything that short.
Yeah, this makes me really happy to see, because it just feels like even the stuff that we thought was dead, most of it is coming back now.
That must have been the other row, maybe over in the food forest had that little bushy plant that.
Oh yeah, that's a kidney wood I think you're talking about, which it is definitely like, they were small when we planted them, and that's going to be the hardest one to get up above the grass line.
Okay. All right.
Those kidney woods and the Texas sage are also super drought tolerant though, so I think they're gonna probably shine in the summertime when other stuff is kind of struggling through.
There's pecan.
Keep the pollinator going through the summer too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, this is a nice eastern red cedar here.
Yeah, that one's done well. Yep.
So this would be one that we would try to propagate either from seed or, I don't know if you can, I don't actually think you can propagate conifer trees from cutting, but once this thing starts making seed, this will be a good one. It's got some vetch growing on it. Oh, this bee balm is already starting to pop off.
And the bees on it. Looky there. Got to get my honeybee box out of here.
I'm so glad you put all these elderberries and mulberries in to fill it in, because those are just going to grow so fast, and you know, if nothing else, it'll divert the grasshoppers from some of the other trees too.
So all the white flags, that's all the places I need to replant something.
Okay.
Those are the failures, but
Got it.
something on these 2 center rows that were not very good, but they hadn't popped up yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know that these 2 center rows are where we were heavier on the oaks and pecans. And then they're a little further from shelter on either side.
Chinkapin oak. There's a tag.
Yep. Chinkapin was here. Yeah, well, it seems
There's
like that.
Here. This is still green.
There we go. Looks like a little pecan coming back. Yeah, so I guess one of the lessons here is don't give up hope too soon, especially in that early establishment phase. Don't give up hope and keep planting.
I might come put some little stuff in here. I mean, we have some in the greenhouse, but that I've propagated. I've had some mulberries I've propagated. Something will be easy, maybe, but I'm not gonna fill all this up. I don't want to. It's gonna be too hot.
Yeah.
Too soon. So I've been waiting for it to rain so I could do it.
Yeah.
But I'll wait to see what's growing. You know, let's wait to see. Probably wait till this fall to see how all the stuff that I did put in there, see how it turns out, and then do it in the fall. It's just too much competition here in the springtime.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we're right on the cusp of things just getting hot anyway,
Yep.
and that stresses out the new cuttings. Especially if you're doing them by cuttings, I
Right.
find fall is the best time for that. Are you finding any luck finding someone to help you out here with propagation and just kind of working on the place, or are you doing most of it yourself?
I just wrote myself a note today to start working on that job description again, and put something on one of these employment websites, you know, to either to get a laborer and I just show them what to do, or get somebody who really knows what they're doing, and which I prefer, where I don't have to babysit.
Well, if you're out here in the Hallettsville area and you want to come work on this project, send us a message and we'll pass it on to Jason.
Full or part-time. I'll get you a place to live too.
So you're saying, as far as like dealing with sycamore leaves when they fall on the ground, you just mow over them and it integrates them into the soil?
Yep.
But like a live oak leaf is too waxy and thick, so it just kind of moves around.
I mean, I mow over them too, but you got to, in the yard, you got to collect them a little bit. But out here, they spread out everywhere, and you don't have to worry about them.
I can't believe that this tree was only 12 inches tall. I guess it was almost exactly a year ago when we first planted this tree here. And I think that they were between 12 and 24 inches top growth out of the ground, and probably only a 12-inch root system on them. That is just amazing.
Yep.
And all we've done to fertilize them is we've used the organic biofertilizer that we mix up here. As far as I know, unless you've done something else, we haven't put out any granular fertilizers. We haven't.
Nope.
I think we might have put some amendments on them in the fall, but I have to double check with Sam on that. Some granular amendments, but we haven't been out here like spraying them with nitrogen or anything.
I mean, we're throwing organic matter up on them, mowing all the time, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a little mound starting to form here.
Yep. Get a little mat there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like basically our version in more of a grassland environment of like syntropic agriculture in the early phases, right? We're trying to harvest that organic matter from either side and just pile it up here,
Right.
and get that fungal dominant microbe system going on down in the soil. So we just found a new plant here that Jason and I and Dylan have never seen before. And we identified it with the help of Google as prairie clover or soft prairie clover, and it is very soft. And I just thought this was cool because you know, we're all kind of plant nerds and we're still learning about new plants, and these plants that we've never seen before are starting to express themselves out here, and that's really kind of a big part of the goal, is just to see how many different kinds of plants we can get growing.
What up everybody, Sam the Fungi here, and today we're working on a 150-gallon sprayer. So the cool thing about this sprayer is it runs off of the PTO of the tractor. So as the PTO spins, it runs a set of fans in these two compartments that blast out mist. And that mist comes from these little nozzles, which we have set to do a fan spray. So as each nozzle, and there's 6 of them in each compartment, sprays out, we're getting almost 180 plus degrees of coverage for our spray. And our spray is something really cool. It's a proprietary mixture that our biologists over in Symbiosis have been cooking up. Chris and Adam have come up with this recipe in collaboration with a lot of different people. But this one has chocked full of nutrients, microbes, living beings that as they get put out onto the land really help reconnect the soil and can help jumpstart that process of soil repair and of remediation in general. So really cool because we have 150 gallons of it right here, which is the biggest sprayer we've worked with so far. And I'm excited because it's run with the tractor, so it's really easy to just get in there and drive on. So I'm gonna get to it, y'all. Bye. Thanks for watching our video. If you like more of our content, please subscribe and sign up for our newsletter. You can visit our website and sign up there. And as always, thanks for watching.